fix the angle here a little bit. So I'm coming on here today. This is one of the first lives I've done, and not only am I gonna play. That's usually what I do on here, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about one of my favorite subjects, what I call tonal nutrition. And today's subject is all about how we start tonal nutrition as sort of our basis where we start from. So basically, we will be discussing the womb, the ear, and the voice, and how those come together, and how medicinal music can be via the womb, the ear, and the voice, and all the relationships that form from there. So, one of the things I've been really interested in researching lately is just like, what is our sonic experience in the womb? One of the really cool titles I've come across as far as a womb experience goes is this author calls it a sonic paradise. And our ears start forming at about 5 weeks of gestation, but because our nervous system is not formed completely, we don't necessarily hear per se, but our ear is forming. And then what scientists have discovered is about 14 weeks, between 14 and 18 weeks gestation, they can tell that fetuses are able to hear, that they respond to sound stimuli. And so my theory is that somewhere within there, after 5 weeks, obviously, but I feel like before 14 weeks, we do start to hear. And what I feel like we're hearing is heartbeat and mom's voice. Now, they've realized that in the last trimester, a baby can hear pretty much everything in mom's environment. There's some really cool science there that I may talk about a little bit later, but science has pretty much confirmed that we hear everything in the environment. Now, before that, I feel like the amniotic fluid and the muscles and organs around the womb are our first sounds that we hear, and the mom's voice reverberating throughout her body as we're in womb is also what we hear. And that may be why music seems to be so healthy and such an agency of healing. That is when we're at our most healthy, most of us. And music may take us back to a moment like that. It may help us remember, both in our mind and our body, those experiences. Now, one of the things that they have found is that the ear is really an organ of healing and charging the body. What's really cool is the way the ear works is the sound vibrations from in our environment vibrate our eardrum, sending air and pressure and energy through the ear canal and across these super tiny little bones, which then send that energy over these minute little hair follicle cells, which turn the sound into a type of energy or electricity that our brain is able to then register as sound. And once we're born and we become babies, infants, the ear then becomes a organ of balance as well. And I don't necessarily know the science, though I'd love to talk about it, discuss it, about when the balance comes in. I imagine some type of balance going on in the womb, but it's got to be very different because I don't think we feel gravity the same way. So the way the inner ear works with balance is that when I stand up or sit down, move forward, move backward, move side to side, tilt my head side to side, look right or left, or look up or down, different liquid crystals are slushing around in different canals in the inner ear, depending on the movement. And not sure how that works in the womb. I haven't researched that, although it's probably something I'll research next. And so the voice is sort of the connection. Babies are born with this natural affinity for music. And, the voice has been known to create very healing experiences for the body. And I'll talk a little bit at the end. I'll share a story about the French physician who used this to great effect. But one of the things that they found music can do, and mainly vocal lullabies, is when an infant is born and in an ICU, there's a lot of aversive sonic stimuli. And one of the things that they've used music for babies in the hospital is to calm them down, because they realize that they breathe better. And so breathing, oxygenates our blood. We become more alkaline, less acidic, and therefore less inflammatory. And our endocrine and our immune system are enhanced by the breathing that comes from singing, and the breathing that comes from the way vocal lullabies relax us as babies. So there was this doctor named Jane Stanley who created this amazing little device called a PAL, and it's a musical pacifier. And so she did a lot of work with babies who were born premature and they had a hard time feeding. And this illustrates the point of our innate sort of love of music, even as immature newborn infants. So she made this pacifier that played music when certain pressure was applied to it. And so they would give the baby the pacifier, and when the baby applied this certain pressure, then the pacifier would end up playing music. And if the baby released or stopped that amount of pressure, then the pacifier would stop the music. And the babies learned really quickly how to sustain the pressure in order to sustain the music. And I just thought this was an amazing fact and an amazing device that this woman, Dr. Stanley, came up with. Not only does it save the family money because babies are able to go home quicker, saves the babies stress because they get out of the hospital sooner. And these babies who had a hard time feeding start feeding a lot sooner, which is really cool. They also used the same type of music to calm the babies because of the stress of the ICU. They really were able to calm the babies with the same music, which helped the babies breathe better. And so rather than needing artificial oxygen, which actually has been shown to be the enriched artificial oxygen that is given to babies can actually detach their retina, that it's just not as healthy as the babies breathing on their own. So this relaxing music actually helped the babies learn to breathe on their own, which I thought was extremely fascinating and really, really a cool application of of music. Um, and so what they found then, also doing these same studies, is that babies come out recognizing music. And I don't know what studies have been done. I'll research this a little more. Um, is is it they've already heard music? Would it be different if, say, the mom's environment while the babies were in utero had no music? Would it be different? Do they love music because they've already heard it? Or is there this just innate urge to hear music that may be unexplained as far as what we know, sir, currently? But they can recognize music and their mom's voice. And so mom's voice, vocal music, and the breathing that comes from that is extremely powerful. Now, I think a cool connection there is breathing when we sing is also extremely good for us. So not only does the vocal music of our mom help us relax, but the vocal music that we can create on our own helps boost our immune system, oxygenate our blood, and decrease inflammation. It's said, I've heard it said the other day, that singers are the most healthy people on the planet. I don't know if that's true, but it is shown in a variety of different ways how amazing the voice and singing can be for both adults and infants and everywhere in between. Um, so one of the things I also want to get into here, and I'm going to play a little bit, is I love etymology. And so I've been thinking a lot about the etymology of the word sound. And what I'm going to do is I'll play a little bit, and I would love for you to just explore in your consciousness all the different uses, definitions, basically your relationship with the word sound. So we're exploring our relationship with the word sound and different definitions of sound. And I got a couple here that I really thought were kind of interesting. Sound, safe and sound. Um, there's whole, uninjured, healthy, prosperous, all sort of different definitions of sound, which I think is really pretty cool, pretty interesting. And when we were most safe and sound was when we were in the womb experience, and that sonic paradise of being in the womb. There's an old Norse word, sund, which also means swimming, which has another cool connotation as far as womb life went. There's an old English meaning of gap, narrow access, space, and or hollowness, which really connects with me as far as music goes, in that all instruments, including the one I'm just playing, or violins or flutes, they all need a certain space, a certain hollowness for sound to be created. And it's really kind of a cool connotation as far as that goes. And so, yeah, meditate on the term sound, and what that means to you and your relationship with sound. So I'd like to leave you with a few tips before I tell you this cool story at the end. I'm going to leave you with a few tips as far as our oral diet, and aural being AURAL, our sound diet, sonic diet, or tonal nutrition. And it's all about, using music to spark our brain and energize our body. Our inner ear turns sound into electric energy for our brain to register and for our nervous system to absorb. This charges and nourishes our entire body, and it enlivens our endocrine system, and it increases our immune system to be able to do what it does, creating overall strength and health and happiness. To quote one of my favorite, I don't know what you call them, one of my favorite people, influencers, Wim Hof. Most sounds that we ingest are beyond our control. What Dr. Stanley saw as like aversive environmental stimuli. But we can add sounds on purpose and music to our oral diet in a way that really creates maximum health benefits for us. We can observe how music alters our biochemistry just by listening to certain music and really being mindful of the way it makes us feel and the way we feel. There has been science out there on how music and sound can actually alter our DNA or work with our DNA. Specific music can either soothe or stimulate us depending on what we need. Science is highlighting the role that music plays in our brain and mental health. And awesome, amazing work with brain scans is giving us insight into how music works on our nervous system better than anything we've ever had before. That a long time ago, it took an autopsy to get into the brain, and even then they couldn't see what was happening real time. Now with brain scans, we can see that music as a healing agent acts very simply and very effectively. And so the sounds that we ingest are now seen as way more important for our overall health. And so taking that into consideration, I feel like is extremely important, more so. And now that we know it, we can't ignore it, that it should become something that is really a part of our daily health and wellness routine. So here's a little story about a French physician named Tomati. So way back in the 1960s, 1950s, there was what was called the Second Vatican Council. Now, I'm not Catholic, I don't know much about Catholicism, but during the Second Vatican Council in 19, I think late 50s, early 60s, they did a there was a large push to discontinue monks chanting. And they sort of saw it as unproductive. And so there was a certain monastery in France where the abbot, excuse me, realized that all the monks were becoming super lethargic, and even more prone to illness. And so he called in this physician, Alfred Tomati, to come in and sort of check things out and see why he thought the monks might be more prone to ill health. And first thing Tomati did was request that the monks start chanting again. And that he knew from the work he'd already done that using the voice for both its breathing effects, that these chants, these Gregorian chants that the monks would chant hours a day, was really good for the breathing. And that the breathing that was caused while chanting was very, very good for decreasing inflammation and boosting the immune system and working with the endocrine system. And so he requested immediately that the monks start chanting again. He also looked at their diet and made a few suggestions as far as what they were eating. And within 9 months, every monk showed what would be called full recovery, in that, renewed vigor, renewed vitality. And it was really all attributed to the fact that he got them chanting again, that the vibrations, the cortical charge that comes from a person using their own voice to sing long melodies, it charged the body with a very healing charge and energy. And the breathing that was involved in these chants was really, really good for oxygenating the blood and decreasing inflammation. And it's a testament, I think, one of my favorite stories to tell as far as why singing is good, why vocalization is healthy, how the inner ear can work with overall wellness, and the way the voice, the inner ear, and the womb all work together in order to, start us off well and increase our wellness throughout life, and sort of remind us of when we were most healthy. And the cool thing is, Tomati went on to make his own little invention called the electronic ear. And what it does is it mimics, you can look this up, but the gist of it is it mimics the voice of the mom. And if you can get a recording of your own mom's voice, it is used and it is filtered, much like the amniotic fluid is filtered. And it's played for people, and it helps them with anything from, health concerns to speech impediments to hearing loss and even cognitive abilities. So look up the electronic ear, as well as Dr. Stanley's PAL musical pacifier. I'm going to play you out a little bit. Thank you for watching. My name is Zach West. I have YouTube. I am on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. I also have a business called I2C2 Music. So you can go to Zach West, i2c2music.com. And get a hold of me. I'd love to discuss this. I also have a podcast called Music and Wellness. And I love discussing all things musical and how that music is a healing force in our lives. good one.